Yep. No. Is it perfect? No. Is it perfect for us? No. Is it perfect for you? No. But it works for us, and it gets us further down the road where we can put an even heavier winch in with better ergonomics, with better safety and stuff like that. But it gets us to where we need to be and gets the logs through the mill right now for what we have.
Yep. So the mill we're running is a manual mill, and obviously you've seen us in previous videos hand turning all the logs, some of them which are, you know, way oversized. A hydraulic mill is in the future, but not in the near future. So this is our quick and easy solution that actually works to help us turn and minimize the damage we can do to ourselves. So the Hoist is an electric winch from Harbor Freight. It's just like the one that we have on the front of the log road. Andy will put a link to the model number in the description in case you're curious about what it is. But what we basically did was we put a mounting block on the floor and we screwed through that into the joists under the floor.
Dave's talking about this. We put a dimensional 2x4 cleat here, and the cleat, if you can see behind it, we have ledger locks, so that prevents this plate from lifting up off the floor. So in addition to all of these, which go into 2x12 structural joists in the floor, each of these is this size or bigger. This is a 3.5. We actually put 5s in there. That cleat prevents it lifting off, and this is a piece of 1.5 square structural mild steel tube. It has a 120 wall or 1/8 inch, and then we're using the original Harbor Freight cable and controller as well. Some of the newer models that came out since we installed this about a year ago, they now have wireless control, which really we should upgrade to. That way we can control the entire operation with the fob, and I don't have to try to stand out of the way with a 5-foot cable.
So behind it, you can actually see we've got the hook on another ledger lock, and if you'll notice the hook, what we did was the standard cable that came with the winch, we took off, or sorry, we left on the original hook, but then what we did was we actually took one of the PV hooks off of our short bars and then basically bolted through the sling at the end, and then this goes right around the log and digs in, and we don't have to worry about it slipping out. You might also notice the ties that we have along the cable. Dave,
we put 4 saddle clamps on just for safety because Dave is terrified that it's going to pull off.
Well, the reason that they're there is that Dave originally mistakenly wrapped the hook around one of the clamps on the mill bed and tugged it. I didn't rip it off, but we tugged it a little too hard and the end of the cable frayed. And so we worked with that for a while, but it started to spool out and it got to a point where we didn't feel safe about it. So we ended up cutting it and then putting on the saddles and then just re-hooking the original loop at the end. One of the key things that Andy's going to show you is when we go up the timber, we go 90 degrees almost straight up, and then we make a turn hooked onto another piece of tube steel, and then we have, again, another Harbor Freight shackle, and then, what do you want to call that? Hitch block, right?
It's a sheave.
Yeah. So we've got the cable run through that, and basically it can move with the log as needed.
You're not going to be able to see the second sheave because it's literally right behind a light. So actually, you might be able to see just a tiny bit of it. But that's our YouTube. Maybe that'll help the ISO. I have no idea, but it's spreading the load between 6 different rafters. And we have another piece of structural tube up there with saddles on it, and it's spreading the load between 6 of the rafters. The middle 2 are Siamese because this building is designed to be split in half, which we'll be doing later this summer.
So in addition to that, and Andrew will take a picture of that with the lights off once we kill the generator.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will.
All of the turning we're going to do wants to come back and flip over against the mill rollers. And so when we spool this out, it goes around the front of the log and comes back and hooks into the top, and then helps us flip the log or the cant as needed. Another thing is if you're doing this, make sure wherever you're shackled up top that you're higher than the highest setting on the head of the saw. Because when we spool this in, it hooks over here, and at its lowest point when it's hooked, it still clears the mast at its highest height. So it's, actually, if Andy goes back down to that side, I can show you.
Now you're making me walk.
I know. So, yeah.
So I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's the mast, rod, whatever you want to call it. And it basically, technically, if the hook was there and we didn't have the hook back at the wall over here, the hook would actually dangle and possibly could hit that. So that's why we kind of retracted off to the wall, because we don't want to risk having the hook hit that mast. But if you were offset a little bit in a different direction, it's possible that you could have the hook retracted there. But the other reason we don't do that is you're always trying to save time with the sawmill, and if we keep the hook down here on the wall, then I don't have to retract it the 5 feet up and down each time. So every single cycle, I can literally hook it, unhook it from the wall, because it's just loosely on this ledger lock right here. I can pull it, retract it, and I don't have to lose that time to spool out the 5 feet, and then when I'm done, spool up the 5 feet to the ceiling. So that's just another little time-saving thing. You figure it all out as you go along. And obviously this isn't perfect. The big thing with me is that I spent 15 years making custom machines. Oh no.
It's totally weird listening to him behind.
I'm sorry about that. Anyway, so I spent the last 15 years making custom machines, being paid to do that, being a machinist and a metal fabricator. I made machines for OEM equipment manufacturers who needed weird bespoke machines to make their product. So I made them soup to nuts for everything. So I'm used to getting paid to do that. So there's a certain level of quality that you have to meet every time, because you're getting paid to do it. So the client expects that. But the problem is, it's hard to turn that back when you're doing stuff for yourself. So Dave is constantly trying to pull me back from trying to make everything perfect, or putting stuff off until stuff is perfect. So this is an example of, we just had to get this done. There are a lot of other sawmills on YouTube that don't have the opportunity to get big logs like we do. They might live in an area that's not heavily forested, that doesn't have a lot of logging crews, that doesn't have a lot of logging activities. So what you'll see is they'll have an LT40 or an LT50 or an LT70, but they'll be cutting 12-inch logs, 13-inch logs, 14-inch logs. We routinely cut logs 45 inches and bigger. We just had a 46-inch log that we cut this past, sorry, there's a fly. We just had a log this past week that was 46 inches that we cut. We have cut logs up to 52. So when you're working with logs that big, you really can't PV them. You can PV them with 3, 4, 5 guys on the log, but it's not safe. So with this, we can just turn a log that weighs 6, 7, 8,000 pounds, which is the touch of a button, because you don't need the full weight of the log being lifted by the hoist. So this is, I don't know, I have to check the skew on it, but I think it's a 1,200 pound hoist. So you can rotate a 7,000 pound log with a 1,000 pound force on the line if you cable it correctly and you have the upper sheave in the correct orientation. So that's our short spiel on how we do it here. Yep. And no, is it perfect? No. Is it perfect for us? No. Is it perfect for you? No. But it works for us, and it gets us further down the road where we can put an even heavier winch in with better ergonomics, with better safety and stuff like that. But it gets us to where we need to be and gets the logs through the mill right now for what we have. Yep. And that's it.
Yep. Hopefully this helps you out a bit. It's really helped us a ton. It saves a lot of time and energy. It saves a lot of abuse on us. As always, thanks for watching. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It doesn't cost anything, but it really does help us out. And until we see you, be safe, be well, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Oh, wait one sec. Dave has to do the outro.
Obviously, the mill that we're running.
Slow down, David. Slow down.
Hopefully, you find this helpful and it helps.
Talk
you
faster.
edit. You just put it in slow mode.
I can't.
The LT15 wide. Edit.
It reached a certain point where I know a lot of sawmills you see on YouTube and stuff like that. They're really.
There's a bug. I'm like, what is that?
It is. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's not going to show up on camera.
Okay.